Hi everyone, following on from the beginning of the video that I made last week, I would like to spend today elevating the voices of some of my favourite Black creators, specifically poets. So I have gone through my poetry bookcase, I've pulled out 20 collections that I go back to time and time again. I would like to talk to you about them today. I will link all of them in the description box down below, along with sample poems and, wherever possible, videos of the poets reading their work as well. If anything takes your fancy, please do consider purchasing it so that you can support these fantastic artists. So, let me tell you about them. The first two books I have to show you are both by Tracy K Smith. She's written a lot, but these are my favorites of hers. This was the one that introduced me to her work. It's called Life on Mars, and it was published in 2011. As you can tell from the title, this is a book that explores the cosmos. She compares the work that astronomers do to the work that poets do, both looking out into the unknown and trying to name it, trying to find a rhyme and reason. Tracy's father was one of the engineers who worked on the Hubble telescope, and in this she expertly looks at the phrases white noise, black noise, dark matter, highlighting how scientists believe that most of the universe is made up of something that they call dark matter, but that it's something that they haven't been able to understand. She equates dark matter with black bodies, looking at possible sci-fi futures where black bodies are granted safe space. In the title poem, Life on Mars, she says, Tina says, what if dark matter is like the space between people when what holds them together isn't exactly love? And I think that sounds right. How strong the pull can be. As if something that knows better won't let you drift apart so easily, and how small and heavy you feel, stuck there spinning in place. The second book of hers that I really wanted to highlight is Wade in the Water, and the series of poems in here that bring me back to this book time and time again are the central ones, which are all published under the same title, I Will Tell You the Truth, I Will Tell You All About It. This is a series of found poetry, which means that she has research material and has used those words and then inserted them, reshaped them into poems. She's retained the original spelling and punctuation, but the structure of the page is all up to her. And these poems are made out of letters that were sent from African Americans to each other and also to Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War. Let's talk about mythology. There are several books here where I would say that that is one of the key themes. The first being Beast Girl and Other Origin Myths by Elizabeth Acevedo. You may be most familiar with her book, The Poet X, but this one is stunning. Also stunning is the cover, so let's have a moment for that. The cover art is by Erin K. Robinson. This chapbook is published by Yes Yes Books, who are one of my favourite publishers. They are very inclusive, very supportive of trans rights, and are just generally fab people. I say that this book is about mythology. It's about Dominican myth and superstition, growing up and coming to terms with those stories and trying to find out what's true and what isn't. One of these poems is called Brother Myth, and it has this wonderful imagery in it. The milk brother is tall, bull-chested, the shine of his father, the other is boiling marmalade, quivering stomach, quick bite. Another is called Dominican Superstitions. It says, for sleeping, don't fall asleep with your knees up, or you'll invite a ghost to mount you. A lot of this poetry feels like spell work. The second collection that discusses myth is Giant by Richard Georges. He is a cartographer of words. These poems are exploring geography, not just of space and nature, but also geography of history and geography of people. He's linking family trees with trees in the forest, and he explores the limitations and the limitlessness of poetry, talking about how he's trying to write birds into existence and every word is a feather. How writing poetry is sometimes like a drunken stumble, but if you search hard enough, you will be able to write your way back home. These rocky hillsides have seen the rain stretch its clouds out against them like blankets, and tamarind trees lean over narrow coastal roads like wiry grandmothers. The third book that I'm including in that myth category is Kingdom Animalia by Araceli Girmay. Her poems feel like little universes, or big universes, actually. And this collection doesn't just look at myth, but as you can tell by the title and the image on the front here, it is about multitudes of self and how we can be lots of different people at the same time, but also lots of different creatures. One of the poems in here is called Ampersand and is about that complex nature of heart, not just in a metaphorical way, but also a physical way. It says, And isn't the heart an ampersand, magnet between the seconds of days and dusks, the peonies and the fig trees and the squirrels? The repeated ampersand acts as a weight, as a pendulum, which also is the heartbeat of that particular poem, but it shows how we are layered as humans. We are the sum of everything that has come before. And in particular, she is talking about Black history. She's talking about colonialism and inherited trauma. As well as loving this book, I wanted to highlight another one of hers I'm currently reading. So I will speak about this in a wrap up soon, but this particular one, The Black Mariah, is all about Eritrean history. Houses by Nikki Wald is one of my favorite poetry books ever. She has a new book coming out next year, which I cannot wait for. Her voice is fire. This collection is a series of poems, each one about a different color house. So we begin with pink house, we move through yellow, red, black, down to violet. There's a smoke house, and then we end up with cadet blue house, and then my house. She is creating a series of worlds where she jumps off with this color. So the silver house talks about the stars and the moon. The gold house is about the hoarding of wealth and about class. The final lines of the gold house is where she says, I know when someone's trying to pull rank, they either shorten your name or pretend you don't have one. All of these poems look at racism and classism. In this book, the black house is the invisible house, the white house is the white house. And in that poem, it says, how would it feel if the clouds were owned, if they finally figured out how to escape the weather? This is all about neighborhoods. It is brilliant. When we talk about books that hone in on police brutality, the one I see recommended the most is Citizen by Claudia Rankine, which is not surprising. This is a fantastic book and I had to highlight it here as well. It's prose poetry. It reads like poetic essay writing. So if you feel intimidated by poetic form, it's probably the book out of this collection I would push you towards the most. But I have made a whole series about poetry, which I'll link down below, how not to feel intimidated by poetry, how to find poetry that speaks to you, how to dissect poems, everything. So yes, please go and check that out. But Citizen is about aggressions, microaggressions, and as I said, police brutality. A lot of it is focused on the racism that Serena Williams encountered and encounters in her tennis career. It's also got beautiful artwork in as well. At the bottom of this page, we have a flowering body. She's talking about just lots of different experiences. So one of those experiences being that a co-worker called her the name of the only other black co-worker in the office. And then when they wrote to her to apologize, they say, I apologize for our mistake. And she's not sure if the our mistake is the company's mistake or if she is supposed to feel in part responsible for that mistake because they have made the other person, the white person, feel embarrassed. And she's just searching for that accountability because it's not there at all. Speaking of police brutality, I'm not sure if this chapbook is still available because it was a limited run, but I will link the work of Simone John in the description box down below. So go and check out her other stuff if this is not available anymore. This is Collateral. She wrote it for Octopus Books, and it's a series of poems about the suspected murder of Sandra Bland. Some of these poems are found poems, like in Tracy K Smith's Wade in the Water, and are made up of the interrogation questions. And one of the poems at the bottom says this: a poem asks you to slow down, pay attention for a few lines. You look for an excuse to stop reading, to do anything else, but now it is too late. Now you are burdened with knowing. Danez Smith is a poet whose work I absolutely adore. I've spoken about them lots on this channel, so I'm going to be brief here. I have 3 of their books: Insert Boy, Don't Call Us Dead, and their most recent is Homie. Don't Call Us Dead is about being black, genderqueer, and HIV positive in the States. I will link Danez reading Dinosaurs in the Hood in the description box down below. It's the poem that they chose to read when they won the Ford Prize, and being in a room with them reading that was the most painful, joyful, electric thing. Homie is also electric. This warm electricity. It's about friendship and love. One of the poems is about how they feel as though their group of friends, they've been planted in the soil and they're growing magnificent and supporting each other. helping each other grow. It's just beautiful. I've also recorded a podcast with Dinez, which I will also link in the description box down below. Speaking of podcasts, I also wanted to mention Raymond Antrobus, who I've also recorded an episode with. I'll link that in the description box down below. I have 2 of his books here. This is his chapbook, To Sweet and Bitter, and this is his full-length collection, The Perseverance. Ray is a British Jamaican poet, and in his work, he's exploring his relationship with his father. He's talking about race and identity. He's talking about the deaf experience. And especially in The Perseverance, he uses British Sign Language alongside the words on the page, which gives them a whole different dimension and shape. His poem, Two Guns in the Sky for Daniel Harris, which I mentioned in a previous video, is one of my favourite poems of all time. And he recently made a video of that, which I will also link in the description box down below. Jay Barnard wrote the collection Surge as an exploration of the New Cross fire of 1981, where 13 young black people were killed and no one was held accountable. In this, they say, and I'm going to read from Jay's introduction because they word it better than I possibly could. In doing this research, Jay says, many questions emerged not only about memory and history, but about my place in Britain as a queer black person. This opened out into a final sense of coherence. I am from here. I am specific to this place. I am haunted by this history, but I also haunt it back. The next book I wanted to recommend is Blues Triumphant by John Terry Gadsden, which, like Beast Girl and Other Origin Myths, is published by Yes Yes Books and therefore has this stunning cover. This artwork is by Margaret Boland. This book is at its heart about mothering other people, mothering yourself, wanting to protect yourself. And it is about being a biological mother, but more about the weight that society puts on that and how that affects your self-worth. Kumakanda by Kayo Chigonyi is the name for an initiation process that a boy in the Lavali tribe has to go through in order to graduate into adulthood. So in this collection, Kayo is reflecting on his own childhood and adolescence growing up in London, and he's talking about cassette tapes and the music that he loved. He's talking about the streets that he used to walk through, but he also explores how all of this hangs on a knife edge, which he's constantly reminded of. There is a line in here I will never forget where he says, he was always worried as though his existence would be deemed the wrong side of a night sky. A collection I couldn't get my hands on. It is somewhere, but I'm in the process of reorganizing my bookshelves. But I wanted to mention it here and I encourage you to go check it out. I'll insert the cover here. Is a book by Terence Hayes and it's called American Sonnets for My Past and Future Assassin. It's brilliant. I will link sample poems in the description box down below. Data Trace by Ronnie McGrath is a poetry collection that sings. It's got such a strong rhythm to it. It's talking about language as a tool. He's talking about how language can be weaponized against you, but also how you can reclaim it, twist it, and then form a whole new reality and create space for yourself, not just on the page, but also off it. Finally, I wanted to recommend an anthology. Anthologies are so great for discovering new voices. I'm currently reading this myself, so I will review it soon. This is a collection of queer poets of colour. So in here we've got black voices and also POC voices. And I will link this along with all of the other collections in the description box down below. So those are the 20 books that I wanted to highlight today. I also linked resources and places where you can donate to Black Lives Matter organisations in my previous video. I'll also link that in the description box down below. Please do check out these books, buy them, support black writers now and always. I'll speak to you guys soon. Lots of love.